If you don't know what you need, having what you need is worthless. Alessandro had everything and not yet what he needed. To find his way from having something to having all he needs, it took a while. Jump in and listen to Alessandro as he takes us to his own journey. Welcome to the Walky Talky podcast, and I have a new guest today here, and this is Alessandro. I would like that you can introduce yourself short and maybe explain the people a bit how we met, because that was last year already for the first time, and where are we at the moment, because it's not for me it's a very special place, and I think for you too. Welcome.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Alessandro Ortona. I am an Italian guy. I was born in Napoli in 1966. And I grow and raise in Italy, in Napoli, up until my university degree. And then I left. My life has been a kind of journey. I have changed many works and many places. I am now here with you, Jan, in Rigreen. That is a special place because for the last 15 years I've been teaching yoga. And this place has been one place that hosts many of my seminars since when I meet them, around 8 years ago now. Maybe, yes, 8 years ago I started teaching yoga here, organizing seminar. I was amazed by the concept, the people, the beauty of the place. And so it became a tradition to come here every year. And then when this pandemic of COVID arrived, I decided to ask them to spend more time up here in this magic valley. Mm-hmm. And because we had a very nice relationship with the owners, they were happy to host me here. And so I came up here and started helping in the fields or in the cooking, sometimes teaching yoga. And since then I have been here quite a lot, let's say. Right now I share my time between Rigreen and Athens, where in the weekends I teach few lessons. And Sweden, where I go in winter and spend a few months there.
Yeah, we will pass not all, but a few places where you went through or lived already in the next time. What do you think about encounters in general? Like, because we encounter a lot of things every day, every second sometimes. So what do you think about it if I ask you that?
My life has been a continuous encounter with people and situations that have taught me all I know. Without these encounters, I would not be able to have any discrimination right now. Sometimes encounters teach you with a smooth way, an easy way. And I have to say, but the most deep lessons I had is with difficult encounters. Situation and people in which apparently you don't fit or you cannot stay or you react very much. And it depends how you look at these things. It depends who you are in life. For me, since I am young, interested in yoga and I'm interested in scholarship, in studentship, from one point of my life on, I try to really use these encounters to see who I really am, because I see myself much more in the reactions than when I am in my, let's say, bubble of, oh, I like this so much. That's good. Yeah. But there is a kind of bubble in a way. And I can see my limits when I encounter a situation in which something is make me reacting or...
Are you always aware of these encounters?
Quite a lot right now.
Because I notice you as a person who's very aware of his situation, his surroundings, where you are. So you would say you are aware of these?
Quite much right now. It's been a long journey. I have learned a lot through my mistakes. Yeah. I have to say that right now maybe my time of understanding, it becomes shorter and shorter. Before I could have taken years before really reading the situation that I spent few years before and then reconsider. But right now, with a lot of practice of meditation and practice of mindfulness and trying to be mindful in the moment and taking the full responsibility of my life. I'm trying to take in the full responsibility and not to give any responsibility to any situation. This become much faster and faster, even though it's not always so easy, especially when you meet people that touch you very deep. So they take out of you the patterns that sometimes you imagine you have overcome because you are far from, let's say, your mother and father, right? Or they're gone, they're not with you any longer. But then suddenly you meet somebody and that patterns is immediately coming out. And this, sometimes I feel trapped. I can see this happening and I'm like in a glass cage, but I keep doing it and I create exactly the situation that will make this explode for the other person.
How did you go with the situations?
Let's say since very recently, in certain situations, I was always doing the same things, but I become very aware with pain of this. And now in this precise moment, I'm really willing to overcome this by not react any longer, but by accepting and acting.
Accepting, yeah. I think that's a big word.
Accepting myself, accepting the other person as the other person is, and acting on this. It's painful, it's fearful because it's something completely, in my bubble of I know who I am, I know who you are. I'm very secured, very nice, but very alone. And I don't want to be alone, in this way any longer. At all. I have given a lot of time to my internal evolution and practice. Now it's time to take this out and work in the external world to do the same thing.
Well, is there a special moment, encounter in your life which maybe changed a lot of you, like where you would say, that's definitely a small short story which I can tell.
Yes, one is not such a positive one, let's say. At one point, I changed completely my life, and I moved from Europe to Caribbean. And there I met one of my partners, was a very manipulative person. I was very young, inexperienced in a certain way. And this was really a kind of, say, devilish encounter, devilish brackets. The guy was not so devilish, but he was just manipulative in an extreme way, a very subtle way. And that influenced very much my psyche deeply, because this person was the kind of people that, they look like goats, but they are wolves. But they present themselves so gently, so polite, so understanding, but it's all fake. They are just manipulating for their own interests. That brought me to a crisis. And through that crisis, I met two very important people in my life that healed me in a way. So in the end, that encounter was very important, because if that crisis didn't happen, I would not have met two people that are really important in my life, because they opened the door of transformation from darkness to light. So it would not have happened in this circle of circumstances.
Let's start with the light, because the light is definitely the date of birth. So you were born in Napoli.
I was born in
66.
66, 15 of March, 66.
15, okay. Yeah, it's not that far away.
It's kind of far away. It's the previous century right now. If I think about it, it sounds incredible. How far is this date? But on the other hand, in my spirit is still the same. I mean, even though my persona, my body has go through more than half a century, that only to listen to this in my ears, it's ridiculous. My spirit stayed the same, completely the same. I can touch it, I can experience it. Of course, learning many lessons about what it means to be in a human body again, because, the spirit is incarnated in a human body, and through the family, through the culture, through the age in which you live, you get a lot of exams to pass through, a lot of fears to overcome, a lot of attachments to overcome. So there.
Do you remember the first time where you really felt fear?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes. A real fear, I mean,
Yeah.
a panic fear. Yes, I opened my head on the rocks in Capri, where I was fishing with my brother on the rocks. I was 12. It was a rainy day. At one point, I ran to take 2 sandwiches for us on these rocks, typical rocks on the sea. And at that time, I was really flying on the rocks. I was very thin, and I was able to jump from one rock to another very fast. Unfortunately, on the way back with the 2 sandwiches in my hands, there was a step in concrete, a small step made on a rock in concrete, that because the water was infiltrating this small step, as soon as I jumped from one rock to another, the step went down. So I find myself going down on a rock, or down on the floor with the head down, and I end up in a black hole on a flat rock, fortunately. But my skull was, not my skull, the skin of the skull was open. I didn't know at the moment. Yeah. And my feet were paralyzed. And I could not speak. My voice was, because all the spine was compressed. Yeah. And then they released this in the hospital. It was a long story. Yeah. But in the end, it was only 40 stitches in the skin. But I remember that when the doctor, the next day came to my bed, an old doctor that was in the island by chance that helped me to recover, he sat on the bed and tell me, I want you to listen me very well. I don't know if you understand what happened yesterday. He said, in the way you fell down and from where you fell down, because they went there with the police to see if there was a responsibility of the people. And the way you felt and the place where you felt, 2 things can happen. Either you have the neck a little bit close towards forward and you break the neck so you stay paralyzed all your life, or the neck is a little bit back and there is a place in the skull that when you're born, there is a hole. It's more, fragile. Yeah. And in that place, you won't open the skull and you will be dead instantly. So you went down so straight that all the strength went in the vertebrae and it went out from your feet. Yeah. And so practically nothing happened except that we had to remove the blockages in the spine and so on. So I wanted to remember that you had an angel. Yeah, then I realized, and then I really freaked out because it was just, a fraction of a second and you can be paralyzed for the rest of your life. So it was very close. Yeah, but the feeling of fear was in the moment when you fell, or in the moment there was pain and there was a kind of fear, but it was this fear, obscure fear. I was young, and then they brought me to the hospital. It was a shock more than fear. Yeah. But the real fear was the realization of what happened that slowly came out. The trauma, let's say. Yeah. Because the first was animal fear, shock. Yeah. But the trauma is that when you reason on it, and reasoning, you start to rethinking, and then it becomes a real fear. Yeah. Wow. Lucky you. Yes. Yes, I had to say lucky me. Yes. So there was a point in your life when you left Italy. I don't know, how old were you when you left Italy? I was 27. 27. So you did a normal school, you studied? Yeah, I studied maritime economy in Napoli because my family owned a big company of ship chandlering in Italy. My life, if my family didn't lost everything for bad management of the company, would have been most probably to be the CEO of a big company. That would be you? Would be me if my parents didn't make a series of horrendous mistakes to lose everything in a way. Yeah. So the moment we lost everything, I had to decide either to stay in Italy, work for the new company that take our company, or find another job. Even though, because in this kind of business, our name was a good name, so I could have a position in another company just for the name I was wearing. But I could not conceive myself at that point to go and work for somebody else. I was too upset in a way, and too, sorry for all that thing happening. Yeah. And even in the family, there were a little bit of tensions going on, and, it was really hard. I stayed until I could help, because it was not just the same year I left. But at one point, I had a friend in Caribbean having a restaurant, the brother of a good friend of mine. We went for a holiday in then we start flirting with the idea, Caribbean, not Europe. We're still young. We can afford to buy a part of the restaurant and then start a new life. At that time in the 90s was the dream of half of our generation, maybe more, to go to live in a Caribbean island.
Yeah.
And own a restaurant and a disco bar. So in this disgrace of the family loss, I see there a big opportunity to go and live a little bit lighter. The atmosphere was very heavy in Europe. I had two brothers. This was the only bad thing, to leave them back in a way. They were younger. They could not come with me at that moment.
So you're the oldest?
I am the oldest of the three. So I decided, I jumped. I went there. And
how was this? Can you remember the situation when you decided to go there?
It was...
Was it clear?
Clear, yes. Yeah. It was clear. I knew I come back in September. I look at what I can do in Europe now and in my town, the possibilities. And frankly speaking, I already had done a sacrifice with my family, because originally I want to become a doctor. But my family was so pushing through the company. The company was everything for this family.
Yeah.
So I felt complied to say, okay, I study economy. I didn't even try to tell them, you know what, I won't come in this company. I want to become a doctor, a surgeon. But I didn't, even try, because I knew that would be such a bad thing for them. And I thought I was enough strong and enough lucky, because we had kind of a good social position. So I had a fantastic life up to that.
Yeah.
To, say, okay, don't be too picky. You can go. Maybe this was a first mistake in my life. I should have chosen the other part. But, I always have been, in a way, a good guy. This is not bad, but sometimes you have to say no. I learned this later.
It's a very difficult thing to say no for most of us.
Yeah.
The word no is very... We use it in the wrong term mostly. Not
many times, because most of times or sometimes we could say yes saying no inside. We say no to ourselves to say yes outside. And then this in the end create a lot of wounds.
Yeah.
Yes, again, this is a lesson to learn through the incarnation.
Yeah.
It's important to leave it, to be aware of it, because I feel very lucky I can see this happening in me, and then I can act on it. Because for many of us, for many lifetimes, you can go through this without even understanding at all what is going on.
Yeah.
Maybe you feel a little bit better. You perceive that you know more. If you never doubt, if you never see these things, but you pass through life completely unconscious as regards the evolution of the spirit. So
how was the Caribbean life?
The Caribbean was...
So you were 27.
I was 27, completely...
Running a restaurant, a club with a friend.
Yeah, we started like that, let's say. We went there, and the restaurant was already there since 10 years. But the three partners were not well between themselves. The first wave, let's say, was finished. They arrived there a little bit like hippies. Mm-hmm. It was a generation before my generation. I am the generation of the 80s. They were the generation of the 70s. Mm. So they were this little bit more, hippie, let's say, especially the manipulative one. He left Italy very young. He had to do with heroin. He came out of heroin. He was living on a beach in Brazil, and then he went... in Caribbean, and he opened this bar with a friend from Napoli, two friends from Napoli. That was a couple at the moment they went there. The place worked quite well because they had a good Italian cuisine. They made a beautiful disco bar. They had a boutique, and the manipulative guy was always... He had a kind of capability in, doing things, I have to admit. He was kind of never exceptional. He never became a millionaire as he would have loved to become, but he was too small as a mindset to become. He was always, running for the small things. And so he lost this opportunity, I think, in life, because it's a kind mindset. You lose 1 million to make $100 more. Mm-hmm. To don't lose $100. So we start, and of course with fresh blood. We were younger, and we went there, and it was a kind of Forrest Gump effect. In the beginning, the place was going more or less as before. And then suddenly we had a great success. So everything changed there. There was a kind of, I call it my wash dishes machine time, when you're in a kind of condition in which things happen so fast that you have the time to adapt. And then you understand much later what was going on, because I was we were all put in front of things that in my culture, in my town, in the way I grew up, was in a movie. I mean, late nights, beautiful woman, you had a great disco bar, you were trendy, everybody wanted to be there, so you had many opportunities in any sense. But together with it, alcohol, cocaine passed through my life, of course, because it was there. And so it was kind of a lose yourself moment when you are young.
Did you feel powerful?
Oh, yeah. And it was a kind of revenge.
Were you powerful?
I don't think so. We were just young and fun, and we had a nice spot. Let's say we were. For some reason, I never understand how this works. We became trendy. Let's say this place became very trendy. And if I recall the first year and the beginning of second year of business, we made so many mistakes. I mean, that if we were not trendy, we would be closed. But people decided anything we were doing was, wow, this is really funky. I mean, and so, it's not something you plan to do, because if you plan to do something like this, it's normally a disaster. It just happened that people choose us and say, we want to be with them. They are the cool guys. Whatever they do is good, and we are ready to pay for it.
Do you have an idea where that comes from?
Unconsciousness. In the beginning, it was just because we were completely unconscious, and we had not the fear of losing anything, because we were coming from where we don't want to go back.
Nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose. Right now, we have lost already a lot, especially me. And it was a kind, okay, let's have this last shot, and then if I have to die, I die. I don't care. I mean, we were living a little bit like this, and every day was a new day. Let's have party tonight, because the place was giving party. Let's enjoy the party, and who cares for tomorrow? And I think people feel this kind of craziness of youth, when you are young and you have this crazy. And
maybe it's exactly the feeling which people always dream about, to have this, having this feeling in the moment. Don't think about tomorrow. Just enjoy the day, the night, whatever it is.
And if
you live that, of course, people want to join.
And if you put this in a business, as a philosophy of business, I mean,
it still works, I would say.
It works. It's kind of spinning. It's like money make money, and this atmosphere make more. This atmosphere is if people start to like you, and if they start liking you. And many people like you. Some people later come, they don't even like you, but they like you because the other likes you. So it becomes like a spinning things that keep growing. And yes, you feel powerful, even because in Caribbean, I had customers like Eric Clapton, David Gilmour, Simon Le Bon of Duran Duran. People were passing through the island, and Giorgio Armani was our guest one night in New Year's Eve.
What was the name of the club?
Abracadabra, Antigua. It's still there.
Really?
It's still running with the two brothers. It's still going on. It's a little bit more. It's different now, but times have changed. But of course, they keep running it. And we had another place that were called Harmony Hall in Antigua, that now is closed. And then we had a third place for a moment that was called Casa Nova. We had a kind of enterprise because we grow. We had to money. We invest money. People call us to manage places. At that point, many people want to have us around because we were generating trendiness, let's say. And then a very professional guy from Italy, friend of us, came to join us, and then we entered the hotel business, and he he ran the Harmony Hall. He made of it best Caribbean restaurant for American Gourmet Journal for 2-3 years. And we were really in a bubble.
Yeah, it sounds like.
yeah, it was fun. It was.
How did you went out of this bubble? And is there a reason, or does it just happen, or is there?
Me personally, because the one night of the 5th year, I wake up in the middle of the night with what it was a panic attack, but I thought at that time it was an heart attack.
Yeah.
And since then, everything changed in Caribbean, because the fairy tale was going to an end. All the hide and seek came out in my, in my being.
Yeah.
And so I had a kind of complete crash. I went back for 1 year after, because I was really in a dilemma. What to do now? Here I make money, I'm famous, but I cannot do this life any longer. I cannot party. It's okay. I start to see the limit of all this lie, let's say. When you live in a place, then you start to understand many things that if you go for holidays, don't see. And so everything starts to change color and light. And I realized that, and that was a huge crisis, because I didn't want to go back in Europe. And then at that point, I was burned in Europe as professional. So I went there for another year, and I changed completely role in the company. I was the captain of a small boat, bringing people to a beach that we had as a service for one of the restaurants. Of course, I start to see how the others were looking at me as the weirdo, and this was not pleasant. I didn't find any, except of one guy, the other completely dissociate for me, like the weirdo of the group. And I felt really alone at that time.
Yeah.
But again, okay, I made it through that winter. That was maybe the most difficult winter in my life. I was driving people in the ocean and having panic attack. That was a bad idea to be the captain of the boat. But I cannot find any other location in the company I want to be, because I want to go again to surf a little bit. Before I was a windsurfer, and kind of good one.
Yeah.
So I brought a surf and I put it in the boat, and I was delivering them on the island, drinking beer and listening music. And I was going windsurfing outside in the waves for 1-2 hours, then bring them back. But, when you have this kind of psychological disorders, sometimes a panic attack could arrive in the middle of, of the channel I was crossing.
Yeah.
And, I had 20 people with me that all rely on me, looking at me, and inside of me I was thinking to die.
Did you found a way to handle that? Because I had panic attacks when I was 19, so I know exactly how does it feel if you have this.
Yeah, surrender completely to the sensation and start breathing deep and say, okay, if you have to die, you die now. It's okay. And then as soon as I accept the situation, all the muscles were, kind of relaxing. And okay, if you accept it and you're ready to die, everything disappears.
Kind of let go, huh?
In front of that, what a fear. If you don't fear to die, you don't fear anything. So I keep doing this in many situations in my life. Accept it and see. You die. Okay. And fortunately, people didn't realize this. So this was a very interesting year. I meet other people, because before I was meeting, only these party people. Then I start meeting other kind of persons, because as your aura change, you attract different people.
Yeah.
Yes, but after that year, I didn't really decide not to go. I pray. Let's say I was in doubt, because I didn't know what to do if I go back. My family had lost everything. My father was poor. My brother were starting a pizzeria in south of Italy in another town, but in a very, very, low level business at the beginning. I don't want to be a weight for them. Yeah. The other part of the family of my father, brother, everything disgregate, everything was around this company. When the company finished, we became like, I don't speak with my cousin now. 20 years, we had nothing to say. They took other direction. I stayed a weirdo anyway. I stayed a weirdo. But then I remember that I went to a doctor, psychotherapist at that time. And that was my first real encounter. She helped me very much.
In Italy?
Yes.
Yeah. How old were you?
At that time I was 33. And so I had to ask for help. Of course, I went first to my family doctor. And of course, the family doctor see my situation and give me a Xanax. And of course, I didn't want to take it. But because it was my family doctor since I was very young, I took it. And I fainted after 20 minutes. I took it. And then I knew that for me, that was not the way. For me, it was a journey. And I knew that that was a bad thing at that moment, but it was a good thing in another way. I had lost who I believe I was to find who I really was. Now it sounds very philosophical and nice. I mean, I lost who I believe I was to start to find who I really am.
Yeah.
Now it sounds very nice. At that time it was like an edge between, suicidal and living.
Yeah.
But I think this kind of transformation cannot happens if not in that intensity. You would never take certain decision if you are not put in front of this edge. And this is maybe the problem of modern time and the problem of so many people taking pills and so on, because lives at one point will put you in front of this sooner or later. This is human life.
You need this crisis, huh? Yeah.
Yes, but apparently for American, European modern culture, this is a sickness. The crisis is a sickness. So there are sicknesses, of course, for deep trauma, but not all of them and not so many.
Yeah.
So this is why I decided to go to a psychotherapist, and I was given a name by my aunt that is a psychotherapist. She cannot see me, of course, because it was family, so I just had another. And then this woman really was the first person that put me in front of, of a mirror without any, mercy. Yes, she was merciful for 4 or 5 months. And then at one point, before I had to leave for Caribbean, she was really clear with me in a very, very sharp way. I don't know why she did that. She risked a lot in that. For a professional to say certain things, I was really depending on her. I had a lot of phobia. I had agoraphobia. I was cleaning my hands 20 times under the water. I was opening and close the door to make sure that it was closed. So my state, and I knew all of these things because I read about psychology since I'm young. So in my mind, there were all the symptoms of neurosis, and I was producing them.
Yeah.
Compulsive, in a compulsive way. It was like a nightmare to see me creating what I already know was the symptom of a neurosis. It was like an oxymoron. But she shocked me in a good way. And that shock created the spring to attempt the impossible. So I was going back to my home after I take the tickets to go back in Caribbean because I didn't have decided yet. I bought the tickets there were travel agents at that time. There was no internet. It was very interesting. I had the travel agent making me the tickets, and I had to go to take the physical tickets of Yatta there. It's another, world.
No printing out or
no.
Scan it from the phone.
Nothing. I had to go there physically. Maurizio was the name of the agent who was making my tickets because I was traveling a lot at that time. At that time, if you traveled a lot, you needed a travel agent to do. And I liked it very much. I have to say, right now, with all these impersonal things of course, it's faster, you can do wherever, but this human contact with the travel agents was so nice and so interesting too, because you were dreaming where to go. It was a kind of more interesting, more fascinating, let's say, more mysterious way. And with the 2 tickets in my hands, I was going back to the house where I was staying in Napoli, and I just asked God, but the first time maybe I really prayed. I said, I don't know what to do, because if I go and my psychological situation become a disaster, I will always regret the fact that I'm going. But if I don't go and I become homeless because I don't find a job, I cannot stay in the job even because I am so now sensible and so on. I will regret all my life that I didn't went, because right now I'm earning good money. So I said, I need a sign. I need a clear sign. With a clear sign, I do it.
Yeah.
And I really prayed. I mean, I remember this sensation to be completely there, like again, in this edge between life and death. I was not faking it. I was not, having a second thought. Okay, if this come, no, I was complete. I was really naked. And that was so relieving because once I did it, I felt, okay, the message will arrive. And I was calm. I was walking and calm. And at one point in the street, it was a very crowded street, Via Roma in Napoli, very crowded, pedonal street. At that time, it was not pedonal yet, but now it's pedonal. But at that time, cars passed by, but it was very, very crowded, a lot of shops. And I turned from Via Roma to Via Toledo, another street. And there a young girl, maybe 4 years, was walking near the mother, hit my leg. And as soon as she hit the leg, little bit, she looked at me, she stopped me and said, "Where are you going? Where are you going? Don't go." And they passed. And the mother said, "What do you say to you? Come here." And I petrified. So it was so clear.
Yeah.
But then the mind came in, the logical mind. I went home and I couldn't sleep the whole night. Yeah. I said, these are things that doesn't happen in real life. This is not a movie, come on. This is a coincidence. It's not possible. I mean, it's in no way.
Yeah.
So and say, no, but you ask for it. I mean, you don't go. Yes, but this is impossible. I mean, this doesn't happen in real life. So it was this kind of battle all through the night. And in the morning, the plane was quite early, and my brother was coming with me, and one of my partners in business was flying with me, with British Airways then. So we were in Napoli airport, and I was going through the check-in with, the luggages. And when I was not the last one, but before the last one to go to the check-in, a kind of force entered myself, and I turned the trailer and look at my brother and the other guy and say, I'm not going anywhere. My life changed right now. I don't know what will happen. I don't want any comment, I don't want to hear anything right now from you. No comment. To my brother, I say, the car key are in this place, the house key are in this place, the boat is under the house because I had a small inflatable. I say, enjoy your holiday. And to the other person, I said, I don't want anything because I knew, Caribbean companies. I mean, you're leaving them in the beginning of season. I had all the banks and the economical situation in my hands. I was giving them a lot of trouble, let's say, to jump out of the business in this way. So I said, and even because I don't want to deal with devaluation money, I was really tired of all these things, especially for the manipulative guy that I already knew that he would exploit everything and so on. So I didn't want to go into that at all. Yeah. And I said, okay, I lost everything. I don't want anything. I don't want comment and so on. And the first miracle happened with my brother.
But was it just a decision in seconds when you walked through the gate, or you were already on the gate and start?
No, not the gate. I didn't had done the check-in yet.
Oh, okay, but I was. You walk into the check-in.
I was almost there. I mean, there was another two person.
And make click and all.
I was still boiling. I didn't want to go from the girl. I mean, but I was pushing it. No, you go because you earn money every month. Okay, next year maybe you go now and then you make some money on the side.
All these thoughts.
To make it more, possible, let's say, even economically, because, I had some money on the side, but not too much, and say, okay, go there, don't spend, put.
Yeah. And then you said, like, one second.
And something come to me and say, no,
stop, no.
That's it.
You're turning around.
Yeah. And you jump. Yeah. It's like jumping to fly, it's okay. It's fly, jump on it. The miracle first happened with my brother, Paolo. I love him so much, but he's a little bit stingy with the money. Okay? He had spent a lot of money for the ticket. That ticket at that time was money. It was not right now. That was not so. So it was about the equivalent of today of 1,400 euro to go and come back from Antigua. Yeah. And immediately he looked at me and say, okay, very, very, very cool. Say, okay, you know what? I'm coming with you. We have breakfast in town, in this beautiful place we go. I want to come with you. I don't want to go there. We don't speak about this, but I want to have breakfast with you. Yeah. Speaking now about this, I could break in tears even now because it was so immediate and so against everything logical. The other guy, the partner, look at us at weirdo, because now I am the weirdo with the weirdo brother.
Yeah, exactly.
They say, okay, let's go. And make it so normal for him without any shock. No, say, hey, what is going on? Nothing. He just say, and we had that breakfast. He didn't talk to me at all. We had breakfast, we laugh. Then he said at one point a very nice, because it's very comical. My brother is ashamed he never become one standard. He could have been here. So he said, you know what? I'm going to make a picture of this in frame of this ticket, and I'm going to write the Caribbean where I never went. And this will stay with me. It's a fantastic memorabilia, a ticket never broken. And he still has that thing on his bed. He's a very, very typical guy. Nice. He still had that ticket with the printing. And the Caribbean I never went.
And he really never went there?
Never. No, never again, because he was there before, 4 years before. He never went again. I never went again there. After that, everything changed dramatically in my life. I didn't want to enter a job. I didn't want to go in business. I didn't want to work for money any longer. I knew that after my family and after this Caribbean time, I want to dedicate myself to yoga. I was practicing yoga since I was very young.
Yeah, that would be my next question, because I knew that you started very early with yoga. How did you find the professional way to yoga?
I didn't went for it. Let's say that at that time, I had in mind to dedicate myself more to the practice of yoga and through that heal my wounds. And again, I was very lucky because that year, a friend of mine, a sannyasin of Osho, had met 2 years before a great yoga teacher, Sri Sachidananda, an Indian sadhu, that for the order of his guru, he was coming to teach yoga in Switzerland, in the Alps, once a year in summer. But the group was kind of tight. They were not accepting people from everywhere. You could have only been invited from somebody from outside. I knew about the group. It was a kind of myth in the yoga community at that time for us. But I could not really apply to it if I was not introduced to that. And that year, exactly when I was in my house without knowing what to do, this guy called my home and asked if I was interested to join them for the summer camp in Switzerland. And I remember I told him, not only I'm joining, I'm coming now up. I'm going to the station right now and take the train, and then we go up. So I left the same day. This was about 10 days later after I went off the check-in. And then I find myself in the Swiss Alps with the first real yogi of my life, because before I met this kind of European teachers, and so I was practicing by myself. I was reading a lot. And that was the other encounter that really changed.
Really had an impact.
Oh, very strong impact. Practical impact, because there was not so much of a philosophy, but was to go over your limits with the ancient tradition of Hatha Yoga. I learned all the cleansing technique. I learned to swallow a cloth in my stomach, to pass a string in my nose, to vomit water, to stay sitting in meditation for hours, to stay on my head for 1 hour, to take all the demons out, and close to such a level of teacher that give you so much security and love, and you know that he knows what he's doing. It was really, really something. I remember that after that, I felt completely okay after the first time I met him. And he explained in a way that this is just a wave. It will come back, but now you have tools. What I give are tools. Now you have to use tools, not only to fix this, but then to fly. Yes, it was. Then after that, I want to have an experience in an ashram. So I'm thinking to go India, but I'm tired.
What exactly is an ashram?
An ashram is a monastery, let's say. It's a place. Ashram in Sanskrit, it means hard work. It's a place where you work on yourself. You dedicate time to the search for yourself. It's a protected environment in a way from the external, hitting of life. You are given food, you are given shelter, You don't have to think about your income, let's say. But on the other side, you don't stay in distraction, let's say. Yeah. Because in society, what we do, we give a lot of effort to the external meaning to survive. And then we are in distraction with the internet, with this, with that, with cinema, with theater. You do exactly the contrary in an ashram. You don't have to think about surviving, but you have to think of all the rest, who you are, how is your mind, and you don't stop. You have no distraction, no mobile, no reading, nothing. You meditate and you are inside. So I have to say it's really tough if you really apply what a master wants from you. Of course, if you go in these places and you hide your chocolate in the wardrobe because you cannot do otherwise, and if the meditation is 4 o'clock in the morning, you don't go in the room at 4, you sneak at 6, and so on, you never go away. I mean, you stay there forever because it doesn't work. You have to go there and obey to what the system requires from you. And this is very difficult for Western people because they think they lose their freedom. But But
so you went there without losing your freedom.
I went
you found your freedom.
I had decided I want a teacher and I want to follow the teachings. Satchidananda was a teacher of Hatha Yoga, but now I want a teacher that involves other parts. I want to live in a place with a teacher. Satchidananda was not doing this. He was not this kind of teacher. So I went in this ashram. I was accepted. And the funny thing is that I want to go to India, but I feel alone in India and after so many things happen in my life. And I always loved Greece because my family had interests in Greece and we had a house in Mykonos and I felt so well in Greece in my life. So I thought I'd go in Greece if there is an ashram. But this was another crazy thought. I mean, Greece is not famous for ashrams. At that time, there was not Google yet. There was Alta Vista. And I remember I put in Alta Vista Greek ashram and it came out that there was an ashram, a traditional Indian ashram near Athens in Paeania. And they were running a 3-month course for monks. So I applied to the course. And of course, in the beginning, they refused me. I was not a monk of the tradition. We had to exchange 5-6 emails. And in the end, they said, okay, come. I went there to stay 3 months and I stayed 4.5 years.
And so how old were you when you went there in this ashram in Greece? Like, was it?
I was 34.
34. Okay. So that was like around your 33rd.
Yes. The crisis.
Happened a lot.
34. Maybe beginning of 35. And then I stayed
4.5 years.
Yes. And that was the real cleansing in my life. It's a purification in a way. You really get rid of all the story you had in your life and you forgive everybody and everything. It's not that the work is finished. It goes deeper and deeper, but you close with that chapter up to there. And after that, I came out of the ashram because I had a love story with the woman and she became pregnant and we decided to keep the baby. That was a beautiful thing that I never thought I would have done in my life, I have to say, at that point. But when my daughter was born, I didn't want her to grow up with a monk father, let's say. I went to my master and asked for the permission to leave. And of course, she said, of course you leave, but of course you don't, in a way. You are always welcome here, you can come, but of course, go. So I left the ashram. At that time, I was very positive. I was completely positive. So I didn't have any fear of anything happening. I knew that something would happen and I was flowing so well. And so immediately people started asking me what I was doing in life. And as soon as I was saying, I'm practicing yoga, I say, I want to learn from you. I want a lesson. So since then, people start coming to my lessons and more and more and more. And so I have been giving yoga lessons without really pushing it. I never made any advertisement, I don't even have a card for my
just you.
Things. Just me and word of mouth and so on. And this is going on up to before COVID. Then before COVID, I took a year off. Before I knew of the COVID, I took a year off. I went a sabbatic year in the mountains hiking. And then COVID came, and then everything is changed. I'm teaching in a different way. And I am in front of a new period of my life right now, because now I have a new relationship with a beautiful Swedish woman that she too teach yoga, and I'm spending part of my time in Sweden in winter. And so now another chapter, I think, is opening for another re-evolution, let's say.
Yeah.
I feel very, very positive about this, and very lucky, very lucky.
Yeah. Let's make a small step into the sabbatical year, which you started was walking, hiking. How did you came to the idea, and what was the plan, kind of?
Yoga teaching, it has become to be too much. I had too many people. It started to feel like a little bit like the Forest Camp of Caribbean. I was successful. I was called by many schools. I had a TED talk.
Yeah.
I made an advertisement for Barilla pasta in Greece, speaking about my life. Yes. So I start to feel a little bit again trapped in this social teacher of teaching yoga, successful. And again, it was a nightmare for me. I don't know why. Every time I arrive at that place, something is not. So again, I jump, but this time was much more conscious than the airport one. I quit everything. I said, I don't want to teach right now this year. So I said, I left, I go. And because I hike a lot in summer, I love hiking for long distances, 300, 400 kilometers, with backpack and tent. Is the best thing I've done in my life. So I said, I go. And I took my car and I went in south of Greece, in Peloponnese, in a mountain called Taigitos. It was the mountain of Sparta, Spartan mountain. It's a very beautiful mountain, very dramatic. And I hang out there for 3.5 months in a tent outside a small village. It was very, very nice, because then I start to meet people. I even worked there. I went for the olive collection. And yes. Even though I didn't need to do economically, but but after COVID arrived, so things start to change slowly, and I had to think what to do. Then I meet Emma in the ashram, because at that Christmas I went into the ashram for helping in the kitchen. And she was coming there for Christmas. And so we met, and again, everything changed. She decided to come back, and we went skiing together. Then our relationship started. Then COVID started to be stronger, the restrictions. So she was in Sweden. Sweden didn't have any restrictions. So I call her and say, may I come up? Because I don't want to be here in this kind of thing. And I went up. We stayed together for a period of time. Then I come back to Greece. COVID became again. Then they opened. She came down. And now it's going like this, forth and back.
Yeah.
But I think now we are ready for a new chapter of our lives.
Nice. Yes. So you're doing retreats?
Yeah.
And one is starting tomorrow?
One is starting tomorrow here in Rigreen. It lasts from tomorrow until Monday, from Friday to Monday. And normally in these retreats, with the years, I decide to go very traditional. So the retreats I give is a kind of...
Give us a short view in what is a retreat.
A retreat is a period of time you take for yourself to completely change everything you do in your life. It's a misconception of the modern time that a retreat is to go in a beautiful island, have a couple of hours of yoga every now and then, go in a beautiful taverna. This is tourism. A retreat is an introversion complete. And it's not something, let's say, brackets, pleasant for your personality, because it's out of your water. Yeah. A retreat is for students. It's not for customers. And my change in 2019 was because I started to feel that around me there were too many customers. People coming and tell me, oh, good lessons, I like teacher. This is the ego coming and judging the teaching. I like, I stay. I don't like, I go. This is the customer attitude. This is United States, America. This is marketing, branding. I don't like this. So I decided to, become a little bit more truthful to myself and to the teaching. And I started to give me retreats in a way that you stay 15 hours with me and we fast and we don't eat. We fast in food, we fast in words, and we start to see what happens if I get you out of your water. Of course, without violence and without pressure, you are always free to wake up and go. Anytime, any moment. It's not compulsory anything. But again, if you go in an ashram, for example, and they tell you, you don't eat chocolate because it's needed right now, and you hide chocolate in your wardrobe, after 5 years, you would say, you know what, ashram doesn't work. I don't feel any transformation. But it's not the ashram. It's you hiding, saying lies. Yeah. And in the seminar that I give, the retreats that I give, some longer, some shorter, I'm having in my mind, I want to give a retreat at one point, months. Mm-hmm. It's a completely different thing. You don't hide any longer. You try to adapt and to open to the situation and to stay positive in situation in which most of people would freak out. Yeah. This is yoga. This is the initiation. This is the path. Otherwise, it's another, educlorating things, making things, pop. It's like a little bit the pop part. You make photocopies. You don't stay 8 hours to sculpt like Michelangelo. Okay. Photocopy everybody can do. So I'm more the kind of the Adi yoga, the traditional way of transformation of human being.
Is there an advice or something which you would give anybody, or maybe you do it already after your lessons, how you want to finish this beautiful episode or story?
Even if it sounds, when I speak or we speak at ourselves of our life and so on, that we know it can sound like this from the tone on my voice or the security in which I speak about these events and fact in my life. Now I am free and happy to say that after this, I don't know. And I know that I don't know. And it's a beautiful thing because it opened me towards what life is an unknown path. It's not something that you can really program, you can really control. It's a beautiful journey. And the beauty is in the fact that it's not known. It's so creative that it's not a pattern. Life is not a pattern, especially the life of a human being. If you make of your life a pattern, then you become trapped, completely trapped. And then you have to compensate with pleasures, sensual pleasures, or drugs, or whatever. So even though my voice sounds so secure, I want to you that listen that I don't know anything. And I want to open more and more toward this not knowing that make me in a way more innocent and happy to be so.
And let you be interested.
Yes.
In a lot of things.
Yes, because it keeps your mind awake and willing to see. Yeah.
Alessandro, thank you very much. It was really nice to listen to you and your story. And I'm sure we see us again, and maybe it's here, maybe somewhere else.
Oh yes, I'm sure. It's the second time we meet Terry Green, so
maybe
it's not a coincidence any longer.
No, it isn't. Thank you very much.
Very nice. Thank you very much. Hari Om Tat Sat.